After 60, life gets quieter. Not just the noise around us, but the feeling of being held, being hugged, being touched. It fades slowly and silently. I never realized I was touch-starved until one afternoon, my granddaughter ran up and gave me a hug so tight I almost forgot how long it had been. And I stood there thinking, when was the last time someone touched me? Just because. This video is not just about loneliness, it's about the gentle, physical language of connection and the subtle signs your body is quietly whispering. I miss warmth. I miss being held. So today I want to share with you, from one elder to another, 5 signs you might be touch-starved and not even realize it. Let's begin gently. Sign number 1. You crave softness without knowing why. There's a quiet moment that happens more often than we talk about. You're sitting in your favorite chair, maybe with a cup of warm tea or a blanket across your lap, and suddenly your hand lingers on the fabric of the armrest, on the edge of your robe, on your own chest. It's not just absent-minded touching, it's seeking. You don't always notice it at first, but the older I get, the more I've realized my fingers search for warmth. My skin craves softness, and not just in material things. When I was younger, hugs were everywhere. My kids ran to me when I came home. My wife held my hand while we watched TV. Even a neighbor might touch your shoulder while laughing at a story. But now the house is quiet. The visits are less frequent, and the skin, once familiar with gentle pressure, begins to forget how it feels to be held. The body doesn't shout about it. It whispers. It begins with little things. You start loving the feeling of warm towels fresh from the dryer. You begin pressing your palm against your chest more often, like your heart needs company. You wrap yourself in blankets not because it's cold, but because something inside you wants to be wrapped. You may even find yourself buying softer clothes, fluffy socks, silkier pillowcases, and maybe you don't know why, but I do. This craving for softness is not random. It's not indulgence. It's your nervous system's way of calling out, please remind me I'm safe, remind me I'm loved. We are wired for touch. From the day we're born, it's how we understand we're alive. A baby doesn't learn safety from words, it learns it from arms. And we don't unlearn that, we just go without it for too long. Science backs this up. Gentle touch, even something as simple as stroking your own hand, lowers cortisol, the stress hormone. It boosts oxytocin, the bonding hormone. It eases tension in the heart, softens the breath, slows the mind. But when there's no one to touch us, to hold us, to rest a hand on our back, the body begins to look for replacements. We pet a dog longer than usual. We sit in the sun and let the warmth soak through our sleeves. We find peace in that moment of skin against blanket, cheek against pillow. We're not crazy. We're not needy. We are human. There is no age where we stop needing affection. There is no year when hugs stop working. And yet after 60, so many of us go days, weeks, even months without a single person placing their hand gently on ours. And if no one else says it to you, let me say it now. You deserve touch. You deserve to be held, to be comforted, to feel the warmth of another person's presence, physically, not just emotionally. If you found yourself gravitating towards softness lately, you're not being weak. You're not being dramatic. You're listening to the quiet voice inside. The one that still remembers what it was like to be embraced. The one that still longs for it. And that voice deserves to be heard. So, my dear friend, the next time you catch yourself rubbing the edge of your sleeve, or sitting a little longer in the sunlight, or sleeping curled tightly under layers of blankets, ask yourself, what is my body really longing for? And if the answer is touch, know this. You are not strange. You are not alone. You are simply remembering what it means to be human. Sign number 2. Your emotions feel a little numb. There's a strange thing that starts to happen after a certain age. You don't quite notice it at first. You still smile, you still function, but inside, the emotional landscape feels quieter, not peaceful, just dimmed, like someone slowly turned down the volume on everything that once stirred your heart. You don't cry at movies the way you used to. You don't feel the same excitement on your birthday. You stop expecting surprise phone calls, and when they don't come, you no longer feel disappointed because you stopped expecting. And that, my friend, is one of the first signs. When we go too long without meaningful touch, without someone placing a caring hand on our shoulder or giving us a real unhurried hug, something shifts, not just in the body, but in the heart. I remember a time when my emotions used to feel like waves, some days high and crashing, other days calm and deep. But now they feel like ripples in a shallow pond. Predictable, contained, numb. It's not depression, it's not sadness, it's emotional stillness. And often that stillness comes when the body has been deprived of physical affirmation for too long. Touch is not just physical, it's a kind of language. It tells us, you matter, I'm here, you are not invisible. And when that language goes silent, our emotional world slowly follows. You see, the human nervous system is built on contact. Babies cry less when held, children calm down with a hug, and adults, even those of us in our 60s, 70s, 80s, still need that grounding anchor of connection. Without it, the heart starts to grow quiet, not broken, but guarded. We stop sharing our feelings because no one seems to ask anymore. We stop expressing joy too loudly because who's around to hear it? We stop showing pain because we've learned that pain shown without comfort can sometimes hurt even more. So we shut it down, slowly, subtly, a little more each year. But here's the truth I wish someone had told me earlier. Emotional numbness is not just about getting older. It's often the result of not being touched, not being held, not being comforted for far too long. Think back with me for a moment. When was the last time someone hugged you, not out of routine, but with presence? When was the last time someone placed their hand over yours and simply sat there, not to rush you, not to fix anything, but just to be with you? If it's hard to remember, please know it's not your fault. We live in a world that rushes past the elderly. That assumes we've outgrown touch, but we never do. There's a study I once read that stayed with me. It said that even short moments of affectionate touch can activate parts of the brain linked to emotional regulation and happiness. A gentle hug can lower blood pressure. A handhold can reduce anxiety. Even placing your own hand over your heart, slowly and mindfully, can soothe emotional numbness. So, if lately you've felt flat, you've felt like the days blur together, like laughter takes more effort and tears feel distant, it may be your heart whispering, I miss being held. And here's what I've learned. Even in the absence of others, we can begin the healing process ourselves. Start by placing your hands on your own shoulders. Hold them there for 30 seconds. Breathe in and out. Let your body know, I'm here. I see you. It sounds simple. It may even feel strange at first, but your body remembers, and with enough small gestures, your emotions begin to remember too. Because emotional numbness is not permanent. It's just a sign that it's time to reconnect to your breath, to your body, to someone or something that brings warmth back into your life, even if it's just your own hand resting gently over your heart. Sign number 3, you start talking to objects more than people. There's a moment that sneaks up on you. Maybe it's in the kitchen, maybe it's while folding laundry, or maybe it's in the quiet of your living room at 6 p.m. when the phone hasn't rung in days. You pour your tea and say out loud, well, there we go again. You speak to the teacup. You pat the table. You look at the window and mutter, storm's coming. And there's no one else in the house. It might sound strange to someone younger, but for those of us who've lived long enough, we know what that moment really means. It's not about losing our mind. It's not confusion. It's not dementia. It's the human need for connection, finding new ways to speak, because the old ways have gone quiet. When no one visits, when conversations slow to a trickle, when hugs and handshakes become rare occasions, the soul still tries to connect. So it speaks to the dog, to the kettle, to the houseplant, to the mirror, to anything and everything that feels like it might listen. And the truth is, these little habits aren't silly, they're sacred, they're survival. I remember once after my wife passed, I found myself talking to her favorite sweater. It had been hanging on the back of her chair for months. One day after dinner, I said, not bad, right? I didn't burn it this time. And then I smiled because I could almost hear her laughing. She always teased me about overcooking. It wasn't about pretending she was there. It was about keeping the rhythm of connection alive. Because when you've spent decades being touched through words, through glances, through a hand on the back, the silence that follows can feel unbearable. So we fill it with gentle words to familiar objects, to memories. And that is not loneliness. That is longing. That is love finding a way to stay present. I've spoken to photo frames, to books I've read 100 times, to the cat who listens better than most people, and sometimes to my own reflection. I've looked myself in the mirror and said, "We made it through another one, didn't we?" Not because I'm going senile, but because my soul needed to be witnessed, even by myself. This habit of speaking to things is a quiet signal. It means you're craving acknowledgement. You're yearning for touch, not just the physical kind, but the emotional kind that says, I see you, I hear you, I'm with you. There's no shame in it. In fact, I think it's beautiful. It means your heart is still reaching, still open, still human. But my dear friend, I want you to know something gently, and with all the love in my aging bones, you deserve to speak to someone who answers back. Not just the teacup, not just the old recliner, not just the pet curled at your feet. You deserve conversation. You deserve laughter with another voice in the room. You deserve presence, not just memory. If no one has reached out to you lately, maybe today is the day you reach out. Not because you're desperate, but because connection, real human connection, is not a luxury in this stage of life. It's a lifeline. You could call an old friend, you could join a gentle community circle, or simply sit on a park bench and ask a stranger, "How's your day been?" You'd be surprised how many people are waiting for someone to just break the silence. But until then, if it brings you comfort to talk to the lamp, to whisper to the sky, to say good morning to the empty room, let that be okay too. Because every word you speak, even to yourself, is a sign that your spirit is still alive, still reaching, still choosing to stay present in this world. Sign number 4, your body feels tight. Even when you're resting, you lie down at night. The day is done. There's nothing more to do, but your shoulders won't let go. Your jaw stays clenched. Your hands keep curling into fists under the blanket. You tell yourself, relax, but the body doesn't listen. It holds on like it's still bracing for something, and maybe it is. I used to think this was just part of getting old, tight back, stiff neck, heavy legs, but I've come to believe something else. This tension isn't always physical, it's emotional, unspoken, and untouched. You see, the human body doesn't forget. Every moment of stress, every ache of loneliness, every time you wished for a hand to rest gently on your shoulder, your body recorded it. And when you go too long without touch, without comfort, without anyone telling your nervous system, it's okay now, you're safe, your body just keeps holding on, holding stress in the muscles, holding memories in the joints, holding silence in the chest. Even when your mind tries to rest, your body remembers the years of doing everything on your own, of carrying grief quietly, of sitting in rooms where no one reached for your hand. And so your body tightens, not in pain, but in protection. I remember a night not long ago. I was lying on my side watching the ceiling, trying to will myself into sleep, and I noticed my toes were curled. My neck was locked. My arms were tense, like I was still bracing for a fall. There was no danger, no noise, just me in my bed, in the quiet. But my body was still waiting to be told, you can let go now. Here's what many people don't realize. Touch is the signal that lets the body relax. When a loved one rubs your back, when a grandchild lays their head in your lap, when someone holds your hand during a hard moment, your body gets the message. I am not alone. I don't have to hold all of this by myself anymore. But when no one touches you, not for days, weeks, months, your body starts carrying everything by itself. And like any overworked system, it tightens, it guards, it never truly rests. Even during sleep, you may notice. You wake up with clenched hands, your hips feel locked, your neck is sore for no reason, you sigh a lot, but still feel tense. That's the result of being on emotional guard too long without the relief of safe, comforting touch. So, what can we do? If we don't have someone to hold us, if we live alone, if the world has gone quiet around us, how do we tell our body it's safe? Start small. Start gentle. Start with yourself. Place one hand over your heart at night. Let it rest there. Say quietly, I'm here. You are okay. Rub lotion on your own arms like you're taking care of a beloved friend. Feel the warmth, the presence. Use a warm towel on your shoulders before bed. Let the heat remind your muscles they can soften. If you have a pet, let them rest on your lap. Feel their steady breathing. It regulates yours. Try gentle rocking, even just swaying in a chair. The body remembers this movement from childhood. It calms the nervous system. And if you're lucky enough to have someone close to you, ist distance fries. Ask for touch. It's not weakness. it's wisdom. Say, would you mind just sitting with me for a few minutes? Could you hold my hand? Would you place your hand here? I feel tight today. Most people want to help. They just don't know how to ask, or they assume we've stopped needing that kind of comfort. But we haven't, my dear friend. If your body is always tight, even when you're still, even when you're safe, please know you're not broken, you're not weak, you're just waiting for someone to say, it's okay to soften now. And today, let that someone be you. Sign number 5, you start to forget what being held feels like. There comes a moment, and you may not even notice it at first, when hugs in movies feel like fiction, when watching someone get embraced on screen doesn't spark warmth, but a strange kind of distance. You sit there, and instead of feeling touched, you quietly wonder, what did that feel like again? The arms around your back, the steady pressure, the sense that, for just a moment, you didn't have to carry yourself alone. You try to remember, but the memory is blurry, faint, like something that happened to someone else in another life. That is the most tender, painful sign of all. Touch starvation isn't always about craving something new. Sometimes it's about forgetting what you once knew deeply. I remember the way my wife used to place her hand on my shoulder while reading. Not for any reason. Not because I asked, just because I was there. It wasn't a dramatic gesture, just a quiet reminder. I see you. You matter. Years after she passed, I caught myself standing in the kitchen one morning, and I realized I had forgotten how her hand felt. That realization broke something in me. Not from grief. I had carried grief before, but from the quiet shock of forgetting something so sacred. When we go too long without being held, truly held, the body begins to forget. The skin dulls to memory. The heart grows cautious. And the worst part is we stop reaching out. Not because we don't want connection, but because we start believing we no longer deserve it. You tell yourself, I don't want to be a burden. They're busy with their own lives. This kind of closeness is for younger people. I'll get used to being alone. But the truth is, you never really get used to it. You just get quieter about needing it. If you've gone so long without being held that you've started to forget what it feels like, I want to tell you something, clearly and gently. You still deserve to be embraced. No matter your age, no matter how long it's been, no matter what stories your mind tries to tell you, you are not past the point. You are not too old for affection, and needing human closeness doesn't make you weak. It makes you alive. Sometimes we forget what being held feels like because we've been holding so much by ourselves, holding grief, holding silence, holding space for everyone else, and forgetting we too are allowed to be comforted. Here's something I've started doing, and maybe it sounds silly, but maybe it might help you too. When I go to bed at night, I wrap my arms around myself, just for a few seconds, just long enough to feel the shape of my own body. I whisper, you made it through today. You're still here. I'm proud of you. It's not a replacement for someone else's touch, but it reminds my heart that I still belong to something warm, to myself, to this body, to this life. And sometimes when my granddaughter visits, I ask for a hug, even if she forgets, because I've learned there is no shame in asking for what your soul needs. If you've forgotten what being held feels like, let this video be your reminder. Let it wrap around your memory like a familiar blanket. Let these words rest against the part of you that's been waiting quietly for someone to say, you are still touchable, still worthy, still here. You don't need to live the rest of your life untouched. You don't need to become invisible. You can return to warmth, to arms, to presence. Even if you start with just your own 2 hands, that's enough to begin. If any part of this video spoke to you, even just one sentence that made you pause, then know this, you are not alone. There are millions of us, quietly carrying hearts that miss being held, bodies that remember the warmth but no longer feel it, and spirits that still long for touch, not for romance, not for attention, but for simple human connection. Maybe you haven't had a real hug in years. Maybe no one has sat beside you and rested their hand on yours. Maybe you've learned to live without it, but that doesn't mean you've stopped needing it. It only means your strength has grown louder than your longing. Let me gently remind you, as a fellow traveler on this road, you are still worthy of warmth. You are still someone who deserves to be held. You are not forgotten. And even if your world feels quiet right now, you are seen. You are felt. You matter. So tonight, wrap your arms around yourself. Let it be a gesture of remembrance, of care, of healing. Because even in the absence of others, you can still return to yourself. And from there, rebuild the touch your heart has missed. If this video made you feel even a little less alone, please leave a comment below. What kind of touch or moment do you miss most? Or simply share a memory of a hug, a hand, a smile that once made you feel loved. Like this video to help it reach other seniors who might need this gentle reminder. Subscribe to True Senior Wisdom for more healing guidance every week, straight from the heart. And if you know someone who may be quietly touch starved, send them this video. It could be the hug they didn't know they needed.